Please stand for the pledge. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. First up is honors and building reports, and Mr. Tarpey. Going to get us started.
Thank you, Mrs. Dernbaugh. Tonight, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you all our newest member of the Centerville City Schools administrative staff, Mrs. Dawana Coleman. Mrs. Coleman will be assuming her official responsibilities as the new principal of Magsig Middle School on August 1st. Although she's already been very busy and connected with her transition process since accepting the position just a little over a week ago, so she's been very, very busy. As you know, she will be replacing Mrs. Westendorf, who is returning to the classroom here at Centerville High School to teach Spanish. As I mentioned to the board and our community at last week's work session, Mrs. Westendorf's return to the classroom has been a well-planned transition after a very successful and distinguished 19-year stay as principal at Magsig Middle School. Mrs. Coleman had the opportunity to meet with the Magsig staff this morning and to tour the building with Mrs. Westendorf. In fact, I think she ended up staying for about half a day, already beginning with her transition plan. Mrs. Coleman has 10 years of administrative experience and is a very successful educational leader in all aspects of that definition. She brings a wealth of expertise, a deep skill set to the position of Magsig principal. She comes to us from North College Hill Middle School in Cincinnati, where she's been the principal for the past 3 years. Previous to her role in North College Hill, she spent 6 years with the Trotwood-Madison School District as a curriculum coordinator, a data analyst, a test coordinator, and an assistant principal. Mrs. Coleman will be participating in our candidate night this Thursday evening here at Centerville High School, as well as other important district and building level activities over the next several weeks, which will complete her, and into the summer, which will complete her transition plan. She has arrived with great enthusiasm, and our entire administrative staff, team rather, is very excited to begin working with her. So at this time, I present to you Mrs. Coleman.
Hello, everyone. It's been great just to get started. A great welcome. Ms. Westendorf was amazing today, and so welcoming the staff has been amazing. The kids have been great. Somebody noticed me today already because we have a dog named Pierre who is our social emotional support dog. So he came in today and he went into a few rooms and he met some students. So one of the students over there said woof woof. So he remembered the dog. So I'm so excited to be here and so excited to be in the community. And I just can't wait to get started. And so you'll be seeing me around. All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tarpey, and welcome, Mrs. Cohen. We're glad you're here tonight to be a part of the board meeting, so thank you. Tonight, we get the opportunity to recognize our Destination Imagination teams. As you can see, all the teams are lined up, and the students are eager to come forward to get their certificates. They're excited. So we're excited for them. So I'd like to introduce Michelle and Harry Oxrider to please come forward, and they will call out the names and the teams, and I'll hand out the certificates as the students come up.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Oxrider, and along with my husband Harry, we are the district coordinators for Destination Imagination. For over 40 years, there has been a creative problem-solving program in our schools, and that is due to the exceptional support given by the community and Centerville City School System. On behalf of Centerville DI, we'd like to thank Mr. Wesney, Mrs. Dernbaugh, and the rest of the school board, Michelle Antrim and Paige Adelot, Sarah Swan, and the rest of Central Office, as well as all the building principals and volunteer building coordinators for the marvelous support that you give to our program each year. This year, Centerville DI had 31 teams from every grade, and every school throughout our district. The students started the problem-solving process in September, guided by volunteer team managers who have dedicated an extraordinary amount of time to helping the kids grow, experiment, and learn countless new things. Without these volunteers, the students would not be here tonight. So please, if we could have a moment of recognition for our team managers. As Mr. Wesney said, tonight the Board of Education is recognizing the 18 teams that qualified to present their challenge solutions at the Ohio tournament. DI Corporate said that only 10% of all registered teams make it to global finals. On April 6th, 10 of our 18 teams earned invitations to globals, which is triple the amount of the international average, which just speaks to our program. I'll now turn the microphone over to Mr. O to announce the teams, team managers, and team members.
So again, thanks for coming out tonight. We're going to have all the teams come up, so please hold your applause until we get the whole team announced. I'll note which teams earned a Global Finals invite or any special awards. Teams, when you come up, you'll get your certificates, and then you can line up over here for a picture, and then you can exit around this way. And then we'll wait for everybody to get through the line. So it should be a pretty quick process. So to start the fun part, I'd like to recognize our special stars. The Centerville DI program is unique with our history of inclusion. 8 years ago, team managers Megan and John Sparks started a team comprised solely of special needs students. This year's team, the Special Peeps, did a service project for Global World and were given a Spirit of DI award. So if the team will come up, I've got Alexander Holacek, Patrick O'Brien, Yusef Shaw, and Zach Sparks. So we had, one of the challenges was improv. So our improvisational teams presented a 2-act skit that involved creating a costume on the spot. So team the diverse Pug Dreamers from Driscoll and Normandy with team managers Jessica Hulliga and Anita Pennington are global finals qualifiers. So we have Abigail Holliga, Carter Wilson, Sanjana Raghu, Tanishka Bucha, Ujval Kanpoli, and Mithra Hariharan. Yep. Okay, for our engineering challenge, the engineering teams constructed a device that had to change to 2 different configurations to launch beanbags, and they had to be accurate with each of their devices. So tonight we have that one team from Weller, team managers Nilu Thacker and Santosh Moore, and they are global finals qualifiers. have Anya Shri Kuncham, Sidant Moore, Vidan Sharara Paba, Nandini Rajput, Arjun Sankishala, Kuram Tour, and Vishnavi Vitla. This one? Okay. Next up, we have the team associationally approved, kinda. They are a Watson Magsig with team managers Dave Stoltz and Marlena Prail, and they are also advancing to global finals. So I have Andrew Beach, James Marithi, Vivian Prail, Dinath Rananthunga, Gia Rawal, Corin Stoltz, and Rylan Sturgill. For the technical challenge, teams created a pinball system that had to move a soccer ball for as long as possible while interacting with 3 machine modules. So first we'd like to recognize the Vengeful Mushrooms. Oh, I'm out of order. Okay. So we'll get the Vengeful Mushrooms up here and I'll go back one. So the team managers are Barb and Ken Prail. And this team is competing at global finals in May. So I have Brooklyn Asher, Christopher Garcia, Shaila Parhar, Justin Prail, Grant Stoltz, Dharmendran Varma, and Scarlett Wyman. Okay, I'm going to go back to a scientific team I skipped here. So, scientific teams presented a story about archaeological investigation that included a puppet portraying a character from the past. I have Aradhya Akanini, Aganya Akanini, Aliyah Chowdhury, Sanchet Das, Cambria Frost, Anna Roth, Hank Ryan, and this is a John Hole Stingley team with managers Karen Chowdhury and Amanda Carup. Okay, so I should be to the dabbing Jeffs? Hefes? Dabbing Hefes, sorry. Okay. So again, back to technical, I have the dabbing Hefes. Did I get it right that time? Okay. So the John Hole team, managers Ginger Rogers and James Hubbard. That's okay, come on down. So Mia Arriaga, Radar Arriaga, Marin Hubbard, Henry Roth, Liam Warren, and Mary Esther White.
Congratulations, guys.
Continuing with our technical teams, this is the best team name strikes again. They are a team out of Weller. Team managers are Matt and Crystal Reeker. The team of 4th graders will be making their first trip to Globals in May to compete at the tournament. I have Caleb Bates, Wesley Calloway, Noah Edge, Auric Ramandas Gupta, River Reeker, Vidan Sentil, and Jackson Thompson. So another technical team that I know fairly well, because this is our team. This is the Centerville Clocks. It's a mix of John Hole, Klein, and Weller. And the team managers are Harry and Michelle Oxrider. Come on down. I have John V. Avala, Chloe Butler, Akshara Sita, Rashawn Set, and Wida Taluga, and Cruz Vale. Okay, in fine arts, teams brought a work of visual art to life and created a piece of kinetic art. So our first team that was in our fine arts challenge is the Peeps. They're from Tower Heights and Watts, and team managers are John and Megan Sparks. I have James Earhart, Ewan Gruenberg, Nikki Sparks, William Wyman, and Reese Young. Our next team is What's the Deadline? This is a Centerville High School team. Team managers Deb Nelson and Dee Gordon. This team won a Da Vinci Award at the regionals for their use of materials to create a 3D aspect of a painting and kinetic art aspects. They also advanced to global finals. And I'd also like to take a moment to highlight Sophie McIntyre. She's not here tonight, but she is a graduating senior. This is her first year of doing DI, and she plans to attend Miami University to study art therapy. So I have Owen Huckey, Jared Nelson, and Joaquin Watson, and like I said, Sophie isn't here tonight. So at the Service Learning Challenge, teams had to do a project that answered a community need and then present a story using a fantasy map that used technical methods to represent parts of their story. So from Klein, Watts, and Tower Heights, I have totally original team name, team managers Julie and Mike Grunenwald. They are Globals qualifiers, and this team's project was collecting school supplies. I have Parker Ballo, Colum Edwards, Glenn Foster, Charlie Grunenwald, Davey Grunenwald, Logan Johnson, and Alex Stevens. Next up in service learning, I have the creativity crew from Weller, team manager Amanda Haskins. These second and third graders held multiple collection drives to donate coats to Hannah's Treasure Chest. I have Greta Collins, Braxton Haskins, Brenna Haskins, Colin Robb, Rutha Sarvapalli, and Wyatt Sutphin. Next up, I have the Conductors of Chaos. They are from John Hole in Normandy, team managers Jim Moore and Hassan Issa. The team collected hats and gloves to donate to Hannah's Treasure Chest, and these fourth and fifth graders will compete at global finals for the first time. I have Wael Issa, Isaac Lindner, Jacob Moore, and Kavish Rival. What?
Conductors of Kindness.
Oh.
Chaos was last year.
Oh, that's my sheet has. I'm sorry, they're the Conductors of Kindness.
Chaos was last year. We grew up.
Next up, we have the Pirates of the Literacy from Centerville High School. Team managers Harry and Michelle Oxrider. They will be competing in May at the Global Finals. This team won a Da Vinci Award at the state for the construction of their multi-level character interactive pirate ship. And we're also pleased to present our second and final senior, Josie Astahoff. She's been part of the DI program for 9 years. Josie will be attending The Ohio State University on full scholarship, double majoring in molecular genetics and medical anthropology. This team is Sophia Balwali, Pardeep Mandava, Ryan Oxrider, Gabriel Reeker, Gabrielle Roseberry, and Josie Astahoff. So again, we appreciate your time and patience. We hope you'll join us in a final round of applause for all these incredible students. I will yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of the students. All right. We're going to move on with the agenda. The next item is public participation. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board as listed in the agenda. And it looks like we do have one person signed up this evening. Nicholas Bowman, if you'd like to come to the podium, please.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to speak with you. My name is Nick Bowman. I have two sons in the Centerville School District. My son Duke, who's in third grade at Stingley in the special needs program, as well as my son Brooks, who is in first grade at Primary Village North. I'm here with my wife, Lisa Bowman, and I stand before you on behalf of parents in the community of special needs. As far as my wife and I are concerned, the Centerville City Schools special needs program is second to none in the region. Our son Duke, who has autism, is on the spectrum, is thriving and has thrived the last couple of years at Stingley with the team there. And so we are huge advocates and believers in Centerville City Schools, and in particular special needs program. However, late last week we were made aware of significant changes that are coming to the special needs program effective this next school year. I want to thank Mr. Wesney and Becky Furby for their time this morning. They met with my wife Lisa along with another family. They heard our concerns in person. We're very receptive. I'm grateful for the time and the attention that you showed my wife and I and our friends. And so I want to say that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it to the board's attention that there are some serious concerns throughout the special needs community on these changes, the timing of the changes, the quick implementation. And so I'm here tonight asking for reconsideration on the timing, to look at phasing in these changes. We're talking about a group of children that have seen significant change over the last few years with COVID. There was a significant change and move to the Honeycomb last year, students coming from Driscoll, which has been great. Now we're talking about moving these kids again to new facilities, potentially new teachers, and starting all over. And so this is a group of kids that thrives on routine and consistency, and we are thrilled with the progress that we've seen. And as far as parents, I can speak for my wife and I, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I understand that the district has a greater responsibility to all the students as a whole in the special needs program, but what I would ask is, can we please reconsider the timing, look at a phasing, look at the students who only have a year or two left in this program, let them finish out with the teachers that they know, with the aides that they know, the therapists that they know, the nurses that they know, so that they can continue the momentum that they have and the success that they have before they initially or eventually transition into a next program. So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate the time tonight. Thank you for considering this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This evening we do have a second public notice, and I do need to read this. Okay. Centerville City School District Board of Education is holding this hearing in accordance with Section 3307.353 of the Ohio Revised Code. The Special Education Coordinator Kelly Henry and Tracy Booker, a transportation aide, are seeking reemployment with the district in the same positions following retirement effective August of 2024. Any person or organization may address the board on this matter at this time. Speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, must register their intention to participate on a sign-up sheet available 30 minutes prior to the meeting. Speakers should follow the same procedure as outlined above for public participation, and we did not have anybody sign up for that public notice. Moving on, board and administrative reports. Mrs. Sparks.
The House and Primary and Secondary Education Committee held a second hearing on Senate Bill 168, which would make several regulatory changes, including but not limited to the following: allowing school districts to develop and use their own frameworks for teacher evaluation instead of using a framework developed by the State Board of Education, modifying license or certificate qualifications for senior or lead professional educators, holders of professional administrator or alternative superintendent licenses, and non-teachers' employment as teachers, and eliminating seniority as a preference when making reductions in non-teaching staff positions. OSBA, the Buckeye Association of School Administration, the Alliance for High Quality Education, the Ohio Association for Secondary School Administration, the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators, and the Ohio Association of School Business Office Officials are in favor of Senate Bill 168. The Senate Education Committee heard sponsored testimony on Senate Bill 219, which would restore the pre-K through 5 grades, 4-9, and grade 7 through 12 educator license grade bands that were altered in House Bill 33, which was a binary budget bill. The committee also amended Senate Bill 205, which would require the Department of Education and Workforce, otherwise known as DO, and the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services to develop a list of evidence-based curricula, materials, and instructions on harmful effects of and illegal restrictions against drug abuse, alcohol beverages, marijuana, and tobacco in schools. The amendment allows local boards of education to provide annual developmentally appropriate instruction described in the bill in a manner the board deems appropriate, rather than an existing health education curriculum as required under current law. The intent of this amendment is to allow for education of students in lower grades that are not receiving health instruction. Our own representative, Tom Young, introduced House Bill 485. This bill will require each public school to adopt an internet safety policy for students who use internet access provided by the school. It would also require each public school to include instruction on the social, emotional, and physical effects of social media to students in grade 6 through 12. And I asked Mr. Wesney to put a copy of that bill at each of your seats just because it is our local representative, and if you happen to run into him at Kroger's, you can give him our feedback. So that's the end of the report. Thank you so much.
Sparks. Next up is our student board reps, and I believe Mr. Garcia is going to give us a report tonight, all by his lonesome.
Hi again, I'm Thomas Garcia and I'm a senior representative. Unfortunately, no one else could be here today, but so today I'll be talking about our Montgomery County ESC meeting that Sam and I attended last Friday. And at this meeting, we met with local legislators, including Representative Young, Representative Light, and Representative Creech. And us, among other students in Montgomery County, discussed different ideas that we had for the future of education in Montgomery County. And the main points that we discussed with them was incorporating brain breaks that allowed students to release any emotions throughout the day, because many students had discussed that they had felt like they weren't able to have time like to relax and stuff. Designing the classroom to change different kinds of learning, like varieties of seating that prioritize individual versus group work. Changing color and lighting, because some classrooms across different schools are very like bland and monotone and don't really feel like welcoming. And having support for middle school age students as they transition the difficult jump from middle school to high school. And then also incorporating more social emotional learning in curriculum throughout the county. And also mentioned in this discussion with legislators in the recent State of the State address by the governor, that he discussed potentially making career planning a required course that would be a future graduation requirement, so that students would have like a reason to perform well in school to reach their future goals. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Wesney.
Good evening. I just have to say, Thomas, great job as you're walking out. So thank you for being here tonight. Good presentation. So good evening, everyone. I do want to take a few minutes tonight to go through a lot of the conversations that we have had over the last few weeks in regards to our reduction planning and what our reduction planning looks like as we move forward. This is a slide I think the board is very familiar with. In January, the board approved a phase reduction plan. We stated that phase one would be implemented regardless of the outcome of the March levy. And phase two would be implemented if the March levy failed. And since the levy request failed in March, we are in the process of implementing both the phase one and phase two process for the start of the 2024-25 school year. In this slide, you can see the total number of positions that will be reduced. This has changed slightly, and I will go through some of those changes with all of you this evening. You can also see the anticipated savings that will be generated in the district's general fund, which includes some other cost savings that are in addition to our personnel reductions. As we finalize which staff members will be affected, we are able to determine the saving salaries and benefits. So it kind of takes time to really look at those positions and replacing retired staff with folks at a entry level or step zero is what we call it, is a big savings for us in the district. We believe this will generate about $2.9 million as a minimum in our savings, and that is listed there as well. In January, I shared that there could be changes. You know, January is an early month when it comes to retirements and resignations because we have an incentive in February. We've seen a lot of those changes take place, and we'll cover some of those changes with all of you. And we said we'll probably come back to the board and the community just to share some of those changes that people have retired and have decided to leave. We are continuously looking at staffing and enrollment like we do every year. Looking at classroom sizes, making sure that we have the appropriate amount of staff for our classrooms. And as we implement these reductions, we're doing our best to realign our remaining staff to serve as many students as possible. So there have been a couple updates since January that I'd like to share, and we're kind of going through that information with you right now. Quickly though, if you look in this slide really looks at January. We had originally 41.25. We had a position, a counseling position. It was 3/4 of the day, and that it was with a secretarial position that was half the time as well. And so that's why that number comes out to 0.25. Today, if you add up those positions, we're looking at 45 total positions on this slide. So to really get in a little more depth, phase one reductions will be the primarily implemented through retirements and resignations. We anticipate about $1.23 million savings to the district fund. We've talked about reducing 4 certificated positions, 1 math teacher at Centerville High School, a science teacher at Centerville High School, 1 special education teacher at the high school, and a middle school PE teacher. Looking at reducing 11 classified positions. Most of this is the exact same as what we've talked about in January. The only change in this phase was the reduction of a part-time security person. That's actually helped us go from 14.5 to 15 positions on this slide. In addition to trying to save additional dollars, we're looking to eliminate 11 academic volunteer building coordinator supplemental stipends, savings from hiring new staff, as I mentioned earlier, at an inexperienced or a step zero in place of somebody who's been here for 34 or 35 years teaching, and then savings from reducing contract rental fees as the district has had outside contractors. We had a trailer at John Hole to help manage our enrollment, the number of kids there. We redistricted a few years ago. That's helped. We've been able to cancel that actual contract, and that is a little bit of savings back to the district. We're also implementing the second phase since the March levy did not pass. These reductions are anticipated to save an additional $1.76 million. So again, we believe right now we're just under $3 million, kind of as that minimum. There have been just a couple of changes to the list that I want to share with all of you, and I'll point those out as we go through these positions. We're reducing 11 certificated or teaching positions compared to the 10.75 in January. That's an English language arts teacher at Centerville High School, one math teacher at the high school, one career education teacher, which is the culinary arts program at Centerville High School. We plan, because that's a block program, we have with our culinary arts, we have a junior and senior program. We're going to allow our juniors to go on and complete the program as seniors next year. But this reduction has a lot to do with a family and consumer science retirement. This actually allows us to keep more kids in a cooking type class. Our creative food sections is probably one of the most popular courses here at the high school. 272 course requests for those classes, so we'll be able to add and actually have about 80 to 96 kids be able to take that course with this change. We have one middle school PE teacher. Originally, we had 2 positions. However, as we looked through the moves, we knew that was going to probably impact an adaptive PE class that would be impacted. If you'll recall, we also had a PE position listed in phase 1. This actually matches our related arts rotations to a number of families at each of our middle schools. And so we'll be reducing that position along with the 4 elementary general education teachers we talked about, 3 elementary special education teachers. We were able to add 2 more positions to this due to enrollment projections. Enrollment is low, so we were be able to reduce 2 more positions from that. This change in those 2 positions have allowed us to keep additional counseling services. That's one thing that I've talked about over and over for the last 2 campaigns. We've, in November and March, the need to be able to keep our counselors in place. So it's critical that we continue to look at our counseling positions. We're able to reduce 19 classified positions. So that's up 3 positions from our conversations in January. That's 8 paraprofessionals, which is our special education teacher aides. We were added 3 additional positions, so it went from 5 to 8, again, due to enrollment changes across the district. We know there's a worry or concern about our special education programs, and we are going to do everything we can to meet the needs of our students and our IEPs and make sure that they have the paraprofessionals and the staff that is needed. But due to enrollment, we were able to make some of these changes moving forward. We've talked about 11 clerical positions. We also talked about increase in fees for pre-K kindergarten students going to $50 versus previously $45 in the past. Increased school fees for students in grades 1 through 8. It's a $15 increase for that cost. School fees for 24-25, which will be on the agenda later on. Usually it's in July. We have those fees for the board to approve. And then increase to pay to participate fees by 20%. And I'll actually come back to that in just a minute because I have a separate slide just for that. Also looking at increased building use fees by 10%, increased athletic field rental fees by 25%. We're also in the process of evaluating all of our supplemental contracts. As you can imagine, as you know, with those contracts, we're going through that. It's a long list to look at every supplemental, and we're working with our building administrators and making reductions from that standpoint. Then the last slide, as I mentioned, is the 20% increase in pay to participate. You can see the amount totals that you have there in front of you and how they've increased with that 20%, not just for the high school, but also for our middle school fee structure as well. Later on the agenda, I'm going to ask the board to approve a resolution that will allow us to accept the 20% increase. A lot of our teams, clubs, groups, band are all having their parent meetings starting this week and towards the end of the school year, really to prepare for summer and for the fall seasons as we move forward. So we wanted to get that 20% increase in front of all of you tonight for approval as we move forward. So with that, concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions from the board. I know we've talked about this a lot. It's a lot of information. Cuts are hard to do. They're tough decisions, but we've talked about this reduction plan for quite a while now.
Any questions? Okay, Mr. Wesney, you mentioned at the beginning that the original approved plan in January was 41.25 positions.
Yes.
What was the original dollar amount in total? Do you remember?
I may, if you give me a second, I have that right
Okay.
here with me. Might take me a minute to find it. I had the wrong folder, so I
Okay.
don't have that. It was just under, it's like
Roughly?
2.7 million.
Okay,
So
so we've
it's up
seen-
a little bit. We do believe we'll be over $3 million when it's
Okay.
all said and done, but we're right at that $3 million mark.
Okay, so the 2.9 is probably conservative,
Yeah.
and that has increased as
Yes.
well to reflect that. Great.
But that doesn't account for the contracts, the supplemental contracts, the rental fees for the trailer. Those fees are not included in that total.
So the increase in the pay to play and the student fees, that's not reflected in that 2.9 either?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right,
Not yet. Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
All right. Next up is business office.
Good evening. Last week, we mentioned asphalt bids, and we were out to bid. We received those bids last Wednesday and had that opening. We worked with Levin Porter, and again, their estimate was about $365,000, which I mentioned to you last week. Those locations were Tower Heights, Stingley, the Stingley Playground, the Weller Playground, CHS, the front lot, as well as the west lot. Driscoll, there's a path that is part of the playground that we'll touch base on in just a second, as well as the front lot. Fortunately, Naira Paving came through with a bid for $323,500, and so much less than the estimate. First in a while that we've been less than what we had estimated. So there's a resolution for this evening for approval of that bid for Naira Paving, who did all of the work for us last summer as well as a 10%, just in case there's any incidental costs, any additional fine that we find throughout, just as part of that project. Playground at Driscoll, we've been working our way through the district. We've worked at Stingley, we worked at Klein, we've worked at Normandy, and then now at Driscoll Elementary, working on making additions and upgrades to the playground equipment there. We worked through Mid-States Recreation as part of that. Again, we discussed that last week, but the final cost is $179,595.75. Again, there's a resolution this evening for approval through the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative, and I do have a couple pictures here to include as part of that. Part of that paving bid is a path playground around the playground here at Driscoll, as well as a couple freestanding musical boards for our students that are in wheelchairs to be able to kind of take a lap, take a loop around, have some equipment for them to utilize. There are some handicap accessible equipment as part of this playground equipment as well. And then last but not least, tonight, I've got a resolution as well for the CHS South Unit ductwork. Back in 2015, 2016, there were new air handling units that were installed here at Centerville High School. In the East Unit, there were two on the first and second floor. In West Unit, there were two on the first and second floor. During that process, East and West cafeterias were redone. Upstairs and downstairs, there were new ductwork that was installed as part of that process, new ceiling tile, new ceiling grid, LED lights. In South Unit, the decision was made to just install one larger unit here on the first floor. And since that time, there have been some airflow issues and airflow issues as far as reaching the end of the runs. The plan was to go back and do that. Unfortunately, that has not happened yet. They basically, in my conversations with people that were around during that time, this project was paid for as part of a bond. They ran out of time, ran out of money to get that completed prior to the start of school. And so since that point, we've continued to have airflow issues here in upstairs south. Right now, there's been some collapse ductwork that's been impeding the airflow. As part of that impeding airflow, we've had to increase pressure to try to get air to circulate the way it properly would. There's a ductwork as part of this process that is on the roof currently that is since blown apart. It's got plywood, ratchet straps holding that in place and holding that together. So as part of this project, we would remove all ceiling tile, remove all the lights, remove all the old ductwork, replace that duct with larger duct to increase that airflow, and remove that roof duct, bring that all underneath the ceiling, underneath the roof here at CHS. Additionally, we'll add a couple VAV boxes that will help regulate temperature and help regulate control of the temperature. And upstairs south, we'll be replacing the lights with LED lights, replacing the ceiling grid and the tile. We need that approval tonight as part of that urgent necessity in order to get those materials here in time for summer installation. Apex Mechanical is the company that has worked on this project. They're the ones that installed the units in east and west, installed the unit here in south. They're familiar with it. They know the project. They were aware that there were going to be airflow issues when we first completed this project, and so be working with them to fix this issue that's been going on for a number of years now. This is again will be paid for as part of the PI fund. This is within this year's PI budget and part of something that we knew needed to be addressed at some point, and it's just come to a cost right now that we cannot really afford another heating and cooling season with that duct on the roof in the condition that it's currently in. And so the cost estimate, or the cost on that, is $795,000. Questions about that? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I do have one question or one clarification. I know you mentioned the urgent necessity, and that's the reason that we are able to go back to the original contractor. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Morgan is making his way up for technology.
Thank you. Good to see you again tonight. Our technology office is preparing for summer work, and there is a resolution on the agenda tonight to consider approving the purchase of laptops that will go to replace the aging laptops that our elementary teachers and administrators and other staff are carrying that need to be replaced. This is part of a typical 5-year replacement cycle that we have traditionally used, and it's time now for us to repair that set of equipment that is failing on us. We are having trouble replacing or repairing those when they come to us because of the aging equipment. And so this is to get us back in good standing and have equipment that we can maintain and keep those classrooms running in good order. So.
And that is also coming out of the PI budget.
This money is budgeted out of the permanent improvement, and most of the equipment that comes out of the technology office is paid by permanent improvement funds.
Okay. Any questions? All right.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right. Moving on to treasurer recommendations. Consider approving the March 2024 financial statements, including monthly general fund rolling report, monthly cash reconciliation, monthly fund activity report, then and now purchase orders approved by administration, certified by the treasurer, and supported by board resolution totaling $5,000. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Here, present. Yes. I'll get it right in a second.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider approving the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings: March 18th, 2024 work session, March 18th, 2024 regular meeting, April 10th, 2024 special meeting, and April 15th, 2024 work session. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Superintendent recommendations. These all go together, yeah? Okay. Superintendent recommends accepting resignations as listed on Schedule A. Superintendent recommends the employment, change of employment status, or change of contract status for the certificated personnel listed on Schedule B for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. The superintendent recommends the employment or change of employment status for the support staff personnel listed on Schedule C for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. Superintendent recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedules D and D1 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments. And superintendent recommends the granting of leaves of absence for the personnel listed on Schedule E for the reason and on the dates given. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider approving May 6th through 10th, 2024 as National Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, a time to publicly recognize our staff's contributions to the development of this community and the tremendous influence on the lives of our students. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Sure. It's just a great opportunity for us to recognize our staff and the work that they do. We appreciate, obviously, the time and the effort that goes into place. We do this early because our next board meeting is not till later in May. So again, we always take the time to officially make the announcement to recognize our staff for the work they do, and more importantly, the work they do for the kids, the students within our community.
We can't say enough good things about our teachers, all of our staff members. And unfortunately, in some of these times, they take a lot of heat, a lot of criticism because of what they do, how much money they make, why are they doing something else. But we are really privileged to have the staff that we have at this school district. And we not only should appreciate them during this particular week, we should appreciate them and honor them all the time. They deserve it, and we need to take that into consideration every day.
Well said. Right. Ms. Sauber, call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider a resolution approving the procurement of playground equipment and turf upgrades from Mid-States Recreation through the participation in a competitively solicited cooperative contract through Sourcewell for Driscoll Elementary. Permanent improvement funds will be used for this project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider approving the lowest and best bid for Centerville City Schools District paving project and award NARA Paving the project for a bid of $323,500 plus an additional 10% contingency to be used as needed. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider declaring an urgent necessity exists and authorizing the execution of a contract with Apex Mechanical Systems Incorporated outside of statutory competitive bidding procedures for the Centerville High School's second floor south unit ductwork replacement and repair. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We just heard about this. Any additional questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Oh, a good one. Consider approving the awarding of high school diplomas for recommended students of the class of 2024 who have successfully completed requirements established by the State of Ohio, Department of Education, and the Centerville Board of Education. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider approving a resolution to purchase 350 Acer laptops for a total of $269,500 from CDWG using permanent improvement funding. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Consider approving a resolution approving the 2024-2025 pay to participate plan. May I have
So
a motion?
moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks? Yes. Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Are there any final comments regarding past or old business from the Board of Education?
I appreciate that Megan gave us this bill analysis that was introduced by the House Representative Young and Plummer. One of the things that I did not see in this bill is any funding from the state to carry out all of the requirements that are going to be in here. The legislature just recently passed another bill that requires the district to provide an additional obligation for our teachers to teach them about basically how to do a checkbook, how to do a credit, a debit. These are all good things. They should learn those things. But again, there is no funding for all of the training that's going to be necessary in order to get that up to speed. The curriculum being developed, I know the state's going to have some ideas with that. These are all the unfunded mandates that we get every year constantly. And unfortunately, then our taxpayers have to pay for it. So I just wish they'd get the message. And if I see Representative Young, I will tell him this.
I'm actually going to see him tomorrow,
Well, you
and I
can
will
tell.
be more than happy to bring that up.
Yeah, because it's got to stop at some point now. That's all. Thank you.
I would also venture to say, just looking at this bill analysis, that a lot of these points are covered in our health curriculum as it is. So it seems to be, while important, maybe a little redundant. And again, if they're not going to offer funding, which I would be shocked if they did, it just adds to it.
And this is a little different than what he described to you and I when we met with him.
This is entirely different than what he
months ago.
described. So, yeah. All right. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to say happy birthday, Sarah. Thanks for being here tonight.
How's it feel to be 29?
All right. In that case, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes. Thank you all for coming. Oh.